Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for March of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening for you in March. And by the way, if you missed your birthday reading this year, it's not too late to benefit from a reading of your solar return birthday chart. It tells you all about the year to come and how to handle it for best results. You'll find a link for that in the YouTube description below. I love to begin with two of our favorite asteroid goddesses, Juno and Ceres. I'll start with Ceres right here in Libra in the 9th house. Ceres is retrograde presently, went retrograde last month, early in the month, and will be retrograde until May. When Ceres goes retrograde, we're thrown into a retrospection of all things to do with the physical world, our food, our bodies, how comfortable we are in our bodies, and our finances too. So in Libra especially, it's good to think of this as a financial rebalancing period. So if your finances have gone askew, or if your eating has, gone topsy-turvy and you're not feeling very comfortable in your body, then you may need to rebalance your health practices or your financial practices. Now, I really love to find Ceres in the 9th house. This is really a great stroke of luck for you, Aquarius, because the 9th house is Ceres' favorite place to be in the whole chart. That's because this is a house of belief. This is a house of the belief that we place in things and the beliefs that we have in place. Most particularly when Ceres is here in this house, it's like you can be able to re-examine, expand on, rejigger your belief in your own capacity for abundance. And so this is a really great transit for asking yourself, what do I really deserve? How can I arrange my life to be comfortable in the ways that I deserve? And if I don't feel comfortable in my body, why is that? And what can I do about it? And how can a belief in my own worth and the value that I bring to the world help me take better care of my body and better care of my finances? And how can that facilitate a rebalancing of these things? So Ceres is going to be retrograde for several months, which is going to give you plenty of time to do this retrospection. Now, the other asteroid goddess I want to talk about is Juno, and she's right here in the 3rd house. She starts the month in Aries and in your 3rd house of communication and your immediate environment and the people in it, such as housemates or neighbors or siblings, especially if you still live at home. Now, Juno is a social maven. She's all about collaboration and partnership. She does like to network and connect with people. So as long as Juno is in the 3rd house, she's going to want to get into communication with people in your social network. She's going to want to gather the tribe. She's going to want to spark interesting conversations, especially being in Aries. She might throw some rather direct commentary out there and light the fires of conversation. However, Juno isn't going to be there for long, around halfway through the month, right about here, March 11th, Juno moves on into the 4th house, which is the domain of home and family, domestic life, heritage, and roots. So here I think that Juno really puts on her spousal hat and her partnership hat. While Juno is traversing your 4th house, which she'll be doing for about 2 months from the time when she enters here, approaching the middle of March. While she's here, she's going to want you to be in partnership and collaboration with the other people in your home around how you can make home as nice and as comfortable and as happy and supportive for everybody who lives in it. If you are married, this is a wonderful transit for sitting down with your spouse and initiating a discussion about how can we make this home a nicer place for both of us. And if you're a parent, then you as the leader in the household can, also bring up those conversations and put some thought into, how your child or children could be more comfortable at home too. This transit might also make you want to invite friends over, do some networking at home with people in your community. Hey, Julia, Venus, Mercury, and Mars are doing stuff for the Aquarians of the world. What is that?
Well, hey there, Aquarius. Jamie's right. A lot going on with these inner planets. We'll start with Venus. That's the planet that represents relationships. And wherever we have Venus is where we get a little extra luck, where we get a little extra fun and pleasure that month. So Venus starts off for the first half of the month in your third house. This is a house of learning. It's a house of short trips, like going out to a beach or to this local park. It's also a house that represents your community, as well as your siblings and those who live in your community, like neighbors. So with Venus in this house for the first half of the month, you could have some fun getting some pleasure trips. This can be a wonderful transit for writing or also expressing yourself eloquently, since the third house represents communication. And if you do have siblings, if you're close to your community, if you know your neighbors well, this is going to be a wonderful time to just spend a good time with them and really get some pleasure from those relationships and a little bit of harmony too. Now, by March 16th, Venus enters your fourth house. And at that point, you're going to want to be a homebody for the rest of the month, because with Venus in the fourth, it's going to be so nice to just hang out at home that you really can't be bothered to go out and do anything else. The fourth house also represents your family, so this is a great time for getting along with them, especially if, you've had some trouble in the past. This is a good time to smooth things over. Remember to call your mom, for example. Now, Mercury, the planet that represents communication and mentation, spends the first day of the month in your first house. We mainly went over that transit last month because that's when it took place. But, first day with Mercury in the first, it's a nice time to be articulate and to express yourself well with your words. Then by March 2nd, Mercury enters your second house. So this is around tax season, and the second house represents money. So your mind might be preoccupied with your money. This is a good time to get all your finances in order. Mercury in the second house is also a wonderful transit for buying and selling, especially any stuff of yours. If you want to put it on Facebook Marketplace, or if you're thinking about a new big purchase and planning it. Now, by March 18th, Mercury goes into your third house. So Mercury goes in there pretty much right after Venus leaves. And Mercury in the third will still mean that you've got some third house activity in your life, maybe a lot of communication with your neighbors, maybe you're getting more calls and texts from your siblings. Mercury in the third is absolutely fabulous for writing. So overall, good month if you are a writer or you're in school and learning new things. Then the last planet I do want to mention too is Mars. Mars begins the month in your fifth house, and Mars has been in your fifth house for a number of months. That's because Mars did a whole retrograde cycle here that finished up in January. However, it's really leaving this house the last week of the month. So while Mars has been in the fifth, and this is probably since late fall, the fifth house being the house of your children, the house of fun, games, and amusement, if you do have children in your life, this may have been kind of a frustrating cycle with them. Maybe they've been a little bit more trouble than they're worth lately, or maybe they've been more argumentative. It's also a challenging transit if you're dating. Maybe you've had to go back on how you felt about a few dates. Maybe you've been irritated and annoyed with them too. And Mars in the fifth really just wants to have a good time. It wants to play. It wants to expend energy on the fun and diversions of life. So this could be a difficult time if there is more serious work you've had to do. You've been way too distractible for it. Now, finally, this whole cycle of Mars in your fifth will be over by the end of the month, specifically on March 25th, when Mars enters your sixth house. Now, the sixth house is a work house. It is a house of health and habits. So Mars in the sixth is a fabulous transit for starting a new workout regimen. That's a really wonderful way to use this transit in your life in a positive way. Mars in the sixth can mean that you get a little annoyed with the people you work with, or maybe you're just annoyed by your work conditions. Maybe there's frustrating things going on in your office, or maybe stuff isn't, if you work from home, maybe you're running into some conflicts around there, other people in the house being loud when you're just trying to get work done, because the sixth house does represent your workspace or office space. And if you do have chronic conditions, they might get a little bit they might kind of act up around this time period. Mars rules things like inflammation and blood, headaches, things of that nature. You might get a little bit more of those chronic conditions acting up, but Mars in the sixth can also give you the motivation to put in good routines to address your chronic health, which is overall beneficial for you in the long run.
Yep, Mars brings the motivation, that's for sure. So I have a couple of moons to report and a seasonal change. The full moon falls in Virgo, which is right here, your eighth house. And when the moon lands in the eighth house, it tends to intensify what is already an intense phenomenon, i.e. the full moon itself. The full moon tends to be pretty full with emotion, but in the eighth house, things can just get so much more intense. And this particular moon is in Virgo, which can have a very critical and judgmental eye. And so it wouldn't be surprising, especially considering that the eighth house is a house of money that you share with a partner, whether that's a business partner or a spouse. It wouldn't be surprising if you found yourself, building up a head of steam, perhaps, sharpened with quite a bit of criticism and judgment, and bring that into a conversation with a partner about the monies that you share and manage together. So I just want to caution you to be careful about that kind of conversation during this moon. And I don't mean necessarily defer it, because this moon actually has a lot of harmony in it. But I do mean, pull back a bit on the sharpness of the criticism if you're finding that you do want to convey that sort of information to your partner. We're calling this moon Shape and Mold in Your Quirky Way. And the reason that the word quirky is in there is because this moon trines Uranus, which is not so apparent in this chart, because this chart shows the moon at 22 degrees of Virgo. But if you were to watch the video that we made about it, on our monthly forecast page at pandoraastrology.com, you would see this moon at 17 degrees like the sun is, and in a lovely trine to Uranus, also a lovely sextile to Pallas Athena. So this moon has tons of support, and it can go quite smoothly. Even, if you do have to have a difficult conversation where, you went into the books and you looked at, the income and expense sheet and how things are being logged and where's the money flowing and how's it flowing, and you just came out of there with some pretty big questions. I think that Uranus and Pallas Athena can help you to have the conversation go smoothly. The one thing you really have to watch out for, though, is Mars, because Mars can bring some irritation, some frustration, and maybe a little bit of anger, or a desire perhaps to move things along faster than they're comfortably going. So don't go in with a head of steam. The next event that happens is we have the seasonal change. The sun enters Aries on March 20th. And that means your third house, a house of communication, the people in your local environment, your neighborhood, the people right around you that you might have frequent connection with, but it might also be superficial connection. And And also the third house can signify learning. And you can see it's very full and busy this month for you. And so there's a lot of emphasis on this, and especially with Mercury and Jupiter in this house too, I would say that learning is super benefited if you're involved in any learning program at all, regardless of your age. You know, whether you're like a kid in grade school or whether you're, you know, an adult going for a higher degree. So when the sun moves into a new house, we want to bring the sunlight of our high quality attention so that things can be nourished, things can grow, things can expand. And this being a house of communication, it's time to pay attention to that. It's time to bring the light of consciousness into the conversations that you have with people and figure out how to make them better conversations. If you are engaged in a learning program, this is a really good time to bring your attention to it, your very fullest attention to it, and to learn and absorb information in a particularly powerful way. The sun will be traveling along through the third house for about 30 days. And then right away, the first thing that happens after the sun moves in here is that the moon joins it on March 21st, right here for a new moon in Aries, which we're calling Clear Your Head and Begin Your Expedition. This is a very bold moon being in Aries. It's also a very cerebral moon because Mercury is right here with it. It has plenty of stress and opposition to Ceres, a square to that pesky Mars again. And you can find out a lot more about those aspects of this moon on our forecast page in the video about it. But suffice it to say that this particular moon has a lot of drive. It has a lot of honesty, a lot of bluntness. It really wants to proceed forward at speed, whether we're talking actions or communications. There's a very adventuresome nature about this moon. And if you are in a learning mode, then this can be a wonderful time for the exploration of ideas.
If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
Horoscopes are fun, but they're also really general. If you want to explore this month's themes more personally, we'd love to meet with you in a real live reading where you can gain powerful insights and learn what you need to make the big decisions in your career, family, or relationship. You'll find the link in the description below. Enjoy this beautiful springtime, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.